All right, I know you're getting settled. Nancy just went to go make more copies. So that's exciting. We've got a full house. And in the meantime, I'll introduce myself. I know that we've got a lot of ground to cover in a short amount of time. My name is Regina Pinney. I'm the Executive Director of Nonprofit Network. And I'm here to talk about your fundraising strategy, whether you need to get started or get strategic. Nonprofit Network is a nonprofit organization. I'm an executive director. Nonprofit Network is a 501c3, so I'm just like you. I serve a board of 14. We have been around since 1999, and we are a capacity builder. We were created by a group of foundations that said our nonprofits need help getting their missions accomplished. And so we teach executive directors how to be executive directors. We teach board members how to be board members. We have an executive director academy. We teach, we have a capital campaign course. If you're looking to build a building and you're like, I don't even know where to get started, we have an 8-week course on just understanding all the terminology. Thank you so much. And I'm going to turn it over to you as soon as I can take that. I started knowing that you wanted to say a welcome. Go ahead. Sure.
Oh, good morning, everyone. How are you? Good. I think I know most of you, but those of you that I don't, I'm Nancy Foxy. I am the Executive Director for the Lapeer County Community Foundation. And we are really excited that you are here this morning. Take a look around. You are all in the nonprofit world or local organizations just trying to do good things in your community. So part of today is not only to learn about how to grow your donor base in fundraising, but it's how to network. So, we designed wanting you to be together at tables. There's going to be small work because the power of the good that we do is the power of the relationships in this room. So whether you're a funder, such as the Community Foundation, or you're an organization that needs volunteers or money or any other of the types of things that make you work, we're a small community. And it's the relationships in this room that allow us all to do the things that we do to impact lives. We have people here from all specters of all sorts of organizations, so it's interesting to find the different types of fields that you're in. But we all have the same challenges, and so we really appreciate that you took the time out of your day to come here. I want to thank, this is possible through a funding collaborative. So just like you, we can't do everything on our own, and so we work with community partners. So the funders of this series originally was a grant from the Comerica Foundation. It's also through the Lapeer County Community Foundation. We have Sam Moore here from Lapeer Development Corporation. We have the Lapeer County United Way. And so together, we all work to make sure that how do we help build your capacity and help you do your jobs more effectively. So I appreciate all the funding partners that came to the table. It also couldn't be possible without our great partnership with the Nonprofit Network. And having Regina here is a feather in our cap in Lapeer County. She is an expert in the field. Please tap her knowledge. She's going to go through a lot of information today, but she has a lot more to share. And we really appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
All the follow-up support from her office for us, from helping us develop our flyers to our survey compilation at the end. So we really appreciate that. And also a shout out to our Lapeer County Intermediate School District, who's letting us use their facilities. Again, we're a small community, and to be able to share space, that's what we're all looking to do. So a few housekeeping things. There are restrooms. If you exit this door and turn left, feel free. We also have food and beverages in the back. Help yourself to that. We'll keep the coffee filled. Our catering was by Fairway Catering out of Metamora Golf and Country Club, and they also provided that as support for our series. This is the workshop number 2. On your tables, you have flyers. We have 2 more workshops in the series. Those are set for 7. I think it's
4 to 7.
4 to 7. Thank you. 4 to 7 in the afternoon. We wanted to mix it up because we know maybe your schedule doesn't allow mornings, Maybe you have board members that would like to attend. So we try and provide different opportunities. You do need to register for each workshop independently. So after today, we have your emails that you registered through, or hopefully you gave it to Jennifer if you were a walk-in. We will follow up to make sure you get the next flyer and registration link. After today, we will have a survey that I will send out most likely tomorrow. Please check your mail and please take the survey. It's quick. It's less than 5 minutes, but your feedback makes sure that we can give you the information you want and provide future programming of needs that you see that you would like us to address. So please, please, please fill out the survey. I also encourage you to check your spam or junk folder. I know some people said, hey, I didn't get your email to register. Through the Community Foundation, we use Constant Contact. And, you know, I'm not the tech queen, but I know for some people it's just going right to their junk and spam. So periodically go in there and take a look. If you see us in your junk or spam, you can mark us as not spam, and then it'll start to filter back into your inbox. So that'll keep you fully up to date. We're also on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram, and we will post there. So if you're on social media, like and follow us, and you'll make sure to know of upcoming programming there as well. Have I missed anything? I think that's it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning again. I wanted to share a little bit about my background. Our brains are hardwired for threat. So I want you to know that I'm no threat. And I bring multiple decades of experience. When I graduated from college, I went right into fundraising, and I was in fundraising for multiple organizations for about 10 years. I started out as a special events coordinator back in the day where walkathons and bikeathons were really popular. I worked for the Northwest Ohio Multiple Sclerosis Society. From there, I did my hardest job, which was as a fund developer, fundraiser, for an organization that specialized in treating children under the age of 5 who had been sexually molested or abused. Hardest job ever. Mostly because the topic was something that no one wanted to look at and see. And after I left there, I learned a really important lesson about how we need a case for support. I went to work for a humane society, and I was the development director for a humane society. And using the same strategies, I was able to raise buckets of money. I would send out hey, I need money, and cases of envelopes would start pouring in. And the message that I learned from that experience is if I could not communicate to the recipient what $25 was going to do to fix the problem, what $25 could do to help, then I was not going to be a successful fundraiser. And I could show a picture of a starving dog, and I could say, you can fix this problem. $25 will buy dog food, and that dog won't starve anymore. I could not communicate how a child under the age of 5 was going to be made whole again. And so that was my problem, not the mission, because every single one of us cares about children, but I couldn't communicate what the money would do to fix the problem. Let the fundraiser, or the donor, be the hero. So that is one of my most important lessons that I always want to share when I'm talking about fundraising, is you have got to tell the donor how the money is going to help, and be really clear and specific. Case for support. We're going to talk a lot about that today. After those jobs, I decided to stay home and be a mom for a little while. And then I was a consultant for about 7 years, doing everything from public relations, marketing, newsletters, donor development, grant writing, board governance, board recruitment. And Nonprofit Network came and said, we really want you to apply for this job. And so I did, and I have been there for going on 14 years, 15, I think 15, 19, 29, whatever. So I've been there a long time. One of the stories that I want to tell you about my experience at Nonprofit Network is I said yes to a job that one, they had no funding for. They didn't know where my next paycheck was coming from. They were hemorrhaging members. They were hemorrhaging money. The funders had all left. We had 1.3 FTEs and a budget of under $100,000. They were not fulfilling their mission. They could not prove that they were fulfilling their mission. They were a capacity building center that wasn't building capacity. They offered no programs. They couldn't demonstrate that they were fulfilling their mission. So that's the first thing I did, was I started building programs that served the mission. And this is really important, because if your organization is an organization that has this grandiose mission of ending poverty, and you provide peanut butter and jelly sandwiches one day a month, that is a big leap, right? So I took our mission and I started fulfilling our mission, thoughtfully and intentionally. Today, we're a $1 million organization. We have 11 employees, and we serve the state of Michigan. So we survived and we thrived. But we went back to the basics and recognized that in order to do that, we had to fulfill our mission, understand our mission, communicate our mission, and make good on all of our promises. So that's my second message, especially for fundraisers, is the basics matter. Your board matters. How you show up in the community matters, because your donors see it. They're really savvy. Your donors are looking at Facebook or websites like Glassdoor and saying, are they a good employer? Are they an equitable employer? Do they treat people fairly? Because I'm not going to give my money to people that don't treat people fairly, right? So all of those small things matter. Today we're going to talk about fundraising strategies and philanthropy, which are two different concepts. I'll talk about that in a minute. So the first thing I want to do, one, this is our website. We have a lot of do-it-yourself stuff, self-guided stuff. We recognize that we cannot be in every single room in every single community. So we've built, that's going to be a problem. So we've built a website. The Learning and Event Center has an LMS, a learning management system. So there's courses on there. Some of them are free. Many of them are $20. So if you need something, please look at our website. Okay, so we'll see if I need to change my battery settings. Okay, so nonprofit network, our motto is that we fill in the missing pieces. If you need something, please give us a call. We are here to talk about, do you need to get strategic or do you need to get started? I reverse those. How many of you currently have an active fundraising program, development program, where you have lots of streams of income coming in? All right, a couple, and you're like, I don't know if I can say yes to that. So we're going to talk a lot about basic fundraising strategies today. I have enough tools in my toolbox. Sorry, just patted my microphone. I have enough tools in my toolbox that wherever you want to go, I'll go with you, okay? So if we're not having the right conversation, if you're all saying far too advanced or far too basic for this room, we'll make the adjustment, okay? So here's all your sponsors again. So our goals are to talk about fundraising versus philanthropy, two very different concepts. Effective development planning, understanding where sources of income come from, understanding your tiers of donors. And so the first thing I want to do before we get into your first table conversation is I want you all to introduce yourself. And in the interest of time, I'd like one person from your organization to introduce your organization and then just say, and we have 3 people here with us. So starting at this table, how many organizations are here? Just one? 3. Okay. Which organizations are here? Tell the name of your organization and a brief mission. We'll start with you.
Metamore Historical Society.
Metamore? Close?
Yes.
Okay. And how many people are here with you?
Just myself.
And what do you do, briefly?
We have a lease on the Old Town Hall in downtown Metamora, and our goal is to keep it up, and they have a bunch of historical stuff in there. We rent the hall out,
Perfect.
cover some of our expenses.
Thank you.
So we are not a nonprofit yet, but our organization is Wandry's Wishes. Wandry's Wishes, it's our last name. WANDRIES Wishes.
Okay.
Currently, we donate to different charities that are here, organizations that are here, or we're trying to fund birthday presents and birthday cakes for children and family.
Okay.
That's where we want to go.
Thank you.
I'm with Disability Network Eastern Michigan. We're a non-residential program that serves people with disabilities to promote inclusion, equity, and independent living.
Awesome. Thank you. I think I'm doing a workshop for you next fall, next spring, maybe. Yeah. This table, how many organizations are represented?
Hi, I am not a nonprofit yet, and I would like to get into animal therapy for children and disabled.
Do you have a name?
No, I don't.
Okay. I'm just going to write animal therapy. Next.
I'm Casey. I'm with the Child Advocacy Center. As is my board members here, and we coordinate the investigation of child sexual abuse, neglect, and offer therapy services and wraparound services.
Perfect. Thank you. This table.
There's 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
I'm Nancy Zimmer, and I am president of the Lapeer County Master Gardeners Association. And what we do is we try to raise money because we do, behind Suncrest Medical Facility, here's what we call our display garden. And all of our fundraising goes directly to the garden so that when the residents come out, they can enjoy the garden and they love it.
Awesome. Thank you. Someone else?
I'm Warren Short with Shorts Fawn Rescue. Shorts Fawn Rescue. So we do a variety of things. We do talks to help people, educate people on what to do if they find a fawn, and other wildlife for that matter. We also report injuries and illnesses that may affect the population, and we rescue fawns.
Awesome. Thank you.
A variety of things we do.
Thank you.
And that's my wife. Sorry.
My name is Nancy Barrios, and I'm here representing Cass City Historic Cultural Center and Museum.
Cassidy
Cass City Historic
Historical.
Cultural Center.
Okay.
And we're a relatively new group, so this is very timely. We're in the process of getting our tax exempt status organized right now. But we're taking over a building that was built in 1881 that was scheduled for demolition. And so we're in the process of getting the whole thing organized and fundraising. We've got some things in the works already. But membership drives and volunteers, and I know you mentioned that before.
Yeah.
We struggle. I'm in
Yeah.
the area where the Octagon Barn is, Octagon Barn. And so a lot of the same members from our area are involved in that group as well.
Sure. Good.
Thank you.
Yeah. This table.
I'm from the Kiwanis Club of Lapeer, and we have 2 others here, at another table, your club. We've been around for 80 years almost, but we fundraise for local children's organizations and causes, and we're currently
Awesome. Thank you.
We represent the Lapeer Center building. And to be honest, the center building's been around forever and the community uses the building a lot and the building needs a lot of help.
Okay. Thanks.
I'm Luann Thompson, and I'm here representing the Southern Links Trailway that runs from Columbiaville to Millington. And
Did you say links?
Links, part of the Farm Belt system. And I'm new to Trailways and the board. I kind of eked my way into it to give back to this trail because I use it all the time, and I'm retired, so now I have the time. And now I'm just trying to our goal is to maintain that trail, which is very expensive, so that people can get outdoors and use it.
Awesome.
But now I'm trying to do some things where we involve kids and young adults and have some activities on the trails.
Awesome. Thank you. This table.
I'm Sherry with the Pregnancy Center of Lapeer. We serve women that face unexpected pregnancies, providing them with resources, education, mentoring. And I have a board member here with me.
Awesome. Thank you.
I'm Crystal with Marathon Township Park.
We're a really little community park, and it's just up and going. And we're kind of hoping to get some ideas on fundraisers so the park makes it stay on its own.
Okay.
We're open to piggyback. We
Okay. Cool. Whoops. Next table or next person?
With Paradise Animal Rescue. I have another board member here with me, Shelley. We rescue mainly cats and dogs, only cats and dogs, I should say, and try to adopt them out to their forever homes. We're also trying to really educate people. Part of the spay and neuter programs with this time of year, it's just the calls are overwhelming with people having kittens dropped off, dogs left out. And the need is great, and it's tough to keep fundraising to facilitate all of this.
Sure. Thank you.
I represent Lapeer Teamwork Incorporated. We serve persons with disabilities by assessment, training, and employment. We've been with this community many years. We have a new youth assignment in the renovated McCrory building, which is a tribute to the community and to our director, who has worked very hard on gaining quite a bit of support from the state of Michigan to
Awesome.
develop that. We are very active and prominent in the community, but looking for a variety of different ways to fundraise and to connect with donors and to get the word out.
Sure.
But we do work with over 90 other nonprofits, including them in our efforts to bring them in and share what we have at Teamwork and share what we have in the community, advertising their organization as well. So it's a team effort that has grown substantially, and we're very proud of that as well.
Awesome. Thank you.
There's two others
Yes.
here. We have
Okay.
four from our
We have
board.
work.
Awesome. Thank you. This table.
Hi, I'm short, so I can see most of you. I'm Sherry. Hopefully, a lot of you have heard of Community House of Hope. I have papers if you're not familiar, and I have volunteer sheets if you don't already have enough to do. Community House of Hope is a Christian, nonprofit, non-county restricted client help center, and we have a small resale shop. We're non-county restricted because God is not restricted. I'm just going to put it out there. Child advocacy, I'm Sherry. I've spoken to you. I've spoken to, I think, a number of you on the phone before. So we collect furniture, appliances, clothes, Christmas toys, Easter, depends on the more fundraising we can do. We have a wedding planner that helps us with fundraising. We have different events at Country Christian Church, fun events. So we all work hard, so you're welcome to come on down and have a little bit of fun once in a while. Again, I have a dedicated volunteer with me here, Terry, a board member, Cheryl, and someone I just met, Chelsea. So I just wanted to put my face and my squeaky little irritating voice out there. So any questions, come on see me after. It's always helpful, just come take a tour of House of Hope. It gets in your mind, because if you know if there's someone in need, whether they just had a fire, they're just starting over, a college student needs a bed, we do carry mattresses.
Thank you.
We try to keep them in stock.
Thank you so much.
I'm Cheryl Clark. I'm the director of KIND, Kids and New Direction, and Chelsea is with me. She's the caseworker that I'm hoping to train over to take over my job when I retire. And we work with at-risk kids. We're in every elementary in Lapeer County, and we're in the high schools and middle schools 5 hours a week to try and help kids stay in school. And we have several other programs that we do, all revolving around at-risk kids and families.
Awesome. Thank you. That table?
My name is Sam Moore. I'm the executive director for the Lapeer Development Corporation. I'm also a board member of
I'm Christine Melton. I'm the DDA director for the city of Imlay City. We just found out that Imlay City DDA has a nonprofit called the Imlay City Facade Corporation that has been inactive. And so I'm here to figure out how to re-energize that and kickstart that program back up to help revitalize downtown Imlay City and some of the liabilities that are there.
Thank you.
I'm Wendy Brown. I'm the director for Lapeer County Senior Programs. We provide services to seniors in Lapeer County to help them maintain their health and independence.
Thank you. Last table.
Morning, I'm Dana Walker with the Michigan Downtown Association. We provide advocacy and education for downtown across the city, including fabulous Imlay City and Lapeer. We're a member-driven organization.
Awesome. Thank you.
I'm Tracy Walker, the executive director of LACADA, which is the County Community Emergency Shelter and Services. Also a member of the board of Peer Teamwork and a member of Kiwanis.
Awesome. Thank you.
I'm Bill Marquardt. I'm also a member of the Kiwanis and the Peer Teamwork. But I'm here today representing Holiday Depot of Lapeer County. I went to the meetings. Our mission is essentially no child, regardless of the circumstances of the parent, should go without Christmas. And to that end, we put barrels all across the county and collect new unwrapped toys to give to kids in need at Christmas. Last year we did 1,400 children and 400 families.
Awesome. Thank you. So, is there anybody in this room that you want to know better?
Yes.
Yeah. So hopefully by the end of the day, you'll figure out how to know them better. Certainly in today's environment, you may want to partner on even sharing donor lists because they're synergized, because you might have a mission that is similar to another. Some of you might go, I'm not going to share my donors. They might get stolen. Donors don't get stolen. You can lose a donor because of your own behavior, but it will never get stolen. If your relationship is strong and if you're doing the right thing, please do not think that someone else could take someone's loyalty away from you. That's your doing, okay? We'll talk a lot about why donors stop giving and why they start giving today. So I want you to take, I'm going to say 7 minutes because I do want to get into content, but I want you to get to know one another a little bit better at your table And I want you to start centering yourself around the topic. So your questions are on the slide. What keeps you committed to your work? What do you enjoy about fundraising? And what are 2 fundraising challenges for you? So about 7 minutes. Go ahead. Let's come back together. For those of you at at a table with multiple organizations, were your challenges the same? What were the challenges?
Getting new members to for the organization to help attracting the youth.
So when you say attracting new members to help, are you talking about subscribers, people that say, I'm going to become part of your group, not just make a donation?
Or become part of the group and, somehow instilling them I don't know, what I have from the organizations that I belong to. When you commit to something, you actually are committed and you will carry through and you're an active part of it.
Okay. So you're struggling with committed participants. And then also these participants that you are getting are not necessarily diverse, right? In age and economic background. Okay, great. Other challenge,
I just noticed, you've all noticed here as we've spoken about our agencies and what we're into, how many are involved with 2 or 3 organizations, and we're all the older.
We have time.
Sure.
But we're committed because we have a love of this community, but look at us.
Yep.
2 or 3 things going on at one time, and we need that new inflection of new blood, new ideas, new energy.
Sure. So certainly collaboration would matter a lot. Other challenges that aren't related to getting committed participants or the generational issues. Yes.
We don't like fundraising.
Yeah. Hate it. Yep. So, and part of that might be the words that we say in our brain, right? Which is people are going to stop, like will turn the other way in the grocery store if they know that I'm in a fundraising manner. Or all of the language, the violent language that we associate with fundraising. Hitting people up, twisting their arms, right? You got to go after them. So all of this aggressive nature, which is counterintuitive to the kindness and generosity that the nonprofit sector kind of embodies, right? And I want you to know that that's your fault, not fundraising's fault, okay? And one of the things that I want you to know is that especially as you develop relationships with donors, that you are giving them an opportunity to do something and make an impact that they themselves can't do, right? So, raise your hand if you'd actually intentionally hit a dog on the road. None of us. Would we want to help a dog that got hit on the side of the road? Every single one of us would say yes. Are we there when every dog gets hit in the middle of the road? No. Can we provide funding to make sure that those dogs are taken care of? Yes. Now replace dog with anything that you're passionate and committed to. Name any issue or problem affecting the people that you want to help. And there are other people that are like, I'm too busy, but I have money. Go do that. I personally cannot interview a child and get the information out, but I want to make sure that you do so that those people are brought to justice. That's what I care about. And I don't have the mental or strength to be in that room, but I got a check and I will keep giving you money to do what you're doing, right? It's the case for support, and it's switching the brain from saying, I'm begging for money. I am not worth you to give my money to. I am inconveniencing you to ask to do something so critical. That's us. That is a coat we wear that we need to take off. We are providing opportunities here. And that is a huge shift in mindset that will help us get from, I hate asking for money, to look at all the opportunities I've provided other people to contribute to their community. It's a completely different messaging. Other challenges, yes?
You know, may I just add, over the years, when we've had committed donors for so many years, everybody here has probably been aware of this. Sometimes we just, as the event approaches, we just go and say, here's your 20 tickets. You know, we just lay them out at the Kiwanis Club or the Optimist. They're already on board, and we don't have to reinvent the wheel or re-communicate. I think what we're looking for is that new area of donors.
Yeah.
We're open that new door to people that don't know about us or are untapped, because most of us can rely on the ones that have been with us for many years. They know what to expect. We don't even ask them, here's your 10 tickets, you know.
Yep.
Just write me the check.
So
What do we do with that?
well, the three philanthropy components is acquisition, retention, and upgrade. And it sounds like you're doing a really good job of retention, doing nothing about acquisition. And so I've got several slides on all of those. That's what today is all about, is recognizing that there is a purpose to everything you do that isn't about a transaction, isn't about the check. It's about acquiring new people, retaining those relationships, and making them more committed. That's the formula. Acquisition, retention, upgrade, period. Everything you do should be focused on one of those elements. Other challenges before we get to the slides. Yeah?
So understanding the new trends in donating, again, back to the younger generation, they want the instant, you know, a QR code, and they want an instant satisfaction, where some of our relationships might take a little bit longer.
Sure.
Trends in
Yep. I've got a ton of slides around trends in giving, the amount that generations are giving, and the tools that they have available. My 29-year-old does not know how to write a check. He is a pilot for Delta, and he does not know or own a checkbook. He has a lot of money. He has more money than I ever dreamed of having, and he does not know how to write a check. You want his gifts? Do not ask him to write a check. You've got to give him an opportunity to give back to his community that fits his behaviors, not yours. So that's another message today, is it's not about you. Whatever if you want everyone, right? Many of you are talking about your donor list as a full composite. We're going to send one letter at Christmas, and that's when they're going to give. That's not donor-centric. I don't know if I have money in December. I actually have more money in April. When are you asking me in April for my gift? What if I always give you money in April, but you never ask me in April? You always ask me in November. Well, I don't want to give you money in November, right? So we have to become donor-centric. What are our donors telling us, and what are the messages we're receiving, and how are we responding to that? So let's start looking at trends. So all of this is like, well, that makes sense. The economy is really bad, right? People have less disposable income, and they're giving to nonprofits less. Now, the scarier part of that is the nonprofit sector is growing at an exponential rate. You heard just in this room a couple of new nonprofits that are starting to evolve. We have grown in the state of Michigan by about 15,000 nonprofits in 10 years. So we used to be at around 47,000. Before that, it was 42,000. Just since I've been Nonprofit Network's executive director. Started with 42,000. Today, there's 54,000. So the number of nonprofits that are growing, that are emerging, and then we have this issue about less money. We have less foundations. Foundations are actually closing. They're sunsetting. They're choosing to give away all their money and be done. Foundations are giving less money. Community foundations can only give 5%, 4% over a rolling 36, 24 quarters? 12 quarters, sorry. So guess what? The tail whip of a recession impacts what a community foundation can give away, as does the markets. If you're watching your retirement fund go like this, so are the foundations looking at their assets. So this is a big deal when we take both of those trends around available individual money, the money and the economic conditions, and what's going on. So just recognize that. Next bullet, 56% of Americans say they trust nonprofits. 56! Does that shock anyone? That's you. There's 40, what's the math? 46% of your community that doesn't trust you. What are you doing? What are you doing that would cause mistrust? That's scary. That's on us. We need to be more transparent. We need to provide more information. The reason why there's a lot of nonprofits or organizations that are growing is because of the mistrust. I don't believe that that organization over there is doing their job. So I'm going to fix it myself. I think that's really important when we talk about how we're going to generate more commitment, is to address the trust problem. Okay? Now, third bullet. 30% of all giving occurs in December. 10% of that giving occurs in the last 3 days of the year. That's still true, even though most of us do not care what the IRS does with our donations anymore, right? Like we are taking our 12,000 whatever or our 24,000 deduction, and we can't get to an itemized tax return. So we're not necessarily caring about the time of year that we're giving, but many of us are still in that habit. So we do need opportunities that show up in somebody's email box or on somebody's Facebook feed on December 26th to take advantage of that 10%. And so what are those strategies that we're going to deploy? All right, tell me why all that matters.
Well, it keeps the organization running. If you're donating at the end of the year, whether you need it then or not.
Right, so we're not going to ignore it, right? But we also need to recognize that there's some strategies. We don't want to miss that boat, right? Why else does it matter?
We have limited time and resources, so we want to be strategic.
Be strategic, right?
And I think you want to counter those trends. When there's a downward trend, get a jump on it and reverse that trend.
Yep. Because there's a lot of money that's being given not in December, right? So 70% of all the giving happens at another month. Why else does it matter? What else does this information mean to you?
We have to know what time of year that is.
Well, you're going to listen to your donors, right? Okay, here's some more data. This is the sources of where all the funds come from. And this is, it's a 2023 report reflecting on the 2022 data trends. So estates are dead people, bequests, wills. Corporations, 21 billion, estates, 36 billion, foundations, 72 billion, and individuals, 500 billion. Tell me what this slide says to you.
Need to attract more individuals.
Where are you focusing your efforts now? You are. Good. How many of you are focusing your attention on foundations and corporations? And the reason why, Mr. I hate fundraising, is because we think it's the easy money, right? We're okay if a corporation or a grant turns us down. It doesn't feel as bad. There's a whole bunch of people in that pool. But I want you to recognize that if we get really good at building relationships with individuals, you will have more access to money. That's the point of this slide, is that your avoidance of those individual conversations, you're missing out on a huge part of the pie, if we're going to call it that. Okay, I want you to have a conversation and tell me currently how you currently raise money. Hopefully that conversation is going to change by the end of the day, but tell me how you raise money. And so I want to give you just 5 minutes for that table conversation.
We already had that.
Oh, you did? Did everyone have that conversation? Okay, okay. 5 minutes. All right. How many of you are talking about events? How many of you rely on events? How many of you send letters in the mail? How many of you do email campaigns? A couple of hands. How many of you do one-on-one solicitation calls? Go and meet with a donor in their home. Good job. You hate it, but you do it. How many of you do phone solicitation? Nobody does phone solicitation? Pick up the call and call a buddy? Oh, one. Okay. What if I didn't name what you do, what do you do? Social media. Okay. Facebook. Facebook giving campaigns.
We have what we call a friends group, and they charge to be a member of the friends group.
So a membership group, right? And is that are there member benefits?
No.
Okay. Okay. And do you raise the rates every so often?
No.
Okay.
And that was one of my first questions when I came to the trail was, well, what do I get for that?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And they can sponsor a quarter of a mile of the trail. Well, what do you do on that quarter of a mile?
Yeah. So remember, inflation is a real thing, and inflation is actually higher than 3% cost of living that we talk about. And so if you have donors that have been giving you the same amount of money for 10 years and you have not asked them to accommodate for inflation, they're actually giving you less. And if they knew that, they would be horrified. So again, we're educating our donors on what it costs to be us. Any other strategies that I didn't name? So membership. All right. Yes?
I just wanted to piggyback on not only the cost of inflation are they giving you less, but with online donating, the donors don't always realize the service fee.
The cost.
They love to give us a credit card, and we'll get a donor that says, can I give you $1,000 by credit card? And so it's a conversation about, that's great, but your fee might be $30 on this.
Sure.
They'll be like, I found my checkbook.
Or I'm going to do an HCH transfer. Right.
Different, and they just don't even recognize it.
Yep. And Facebook has changed their giving policies, right? They're now going to start charging you a higher rate for the credit card, taking a bigger cut of their of that gift. So all of these things need to be taken into consideration. Okay. So we're going to start with your case for support. So I encourage you to somehow start journaling. You're going to want to have a collective document that everyone uses that talks about why you exist and what you do about why you exist and what happens if you don't exist and how you're different from all the other organizations that kind of sound a lot like you. This is going to be really important. These words are going to be really important because it helps you talk to your donors about what it is they can do to help. Remember, your donor is the hero in the story. The donor's contribution is what matters most because your donor is helping you achieve your mission, So if the donor does not see themselves in your story, they will be less likely to give, okay? You are doing great work and you want to talk about the fact that you're doing great work, but it really is all about them. What can their dollar do to help your mission? Everybody wants to feel important. And if $25 is not going to do anything, they will find an organization where their $25 matters, right? It's the same thing that kind of occurs with your grant applications. If you're starting out and you need $100,000 and you write a grant for $1,000 and that grant is the first $1,000 and a foundation says it's going to be like 5 years before they get their $100,000. Why am I wasting my money today on something that's going to sit in the bank when I really want it to do really good work today? So we need to recognize for some donors, they do want their money put to use today. Is that what your solicitation is saying? To the person that wants their dollar to be used today. There's some people that are like, I want to invest in your future. Legacy donors. I want to make a mark on this world before I go. And your organization is going to be it. It's really important. But if we don't have a case for support that says this is how I'm going to use your money, it's really important. We also need to be able to understand that we're telling donors, this is all the stuff that I can do with our current dollar, right? You're talking about all of your achievements. We do all this amazing stuff, but you don't tell them what you're going to do with more. So you've already communicated that you can do exactly what you need to do with the money that you have today. You haven't made any expectation of what more money will do to advance your mission. So you've always got to be telling a story to your donor about what the use is of the dollar that you're asking for. Also, you need to remember that whatever solicitation you're asking for needs to be just vague enough that the Attorney General doesn't come looking for receipts. So there's a law that identifies that if I write a solicitation and say, if you give me $10, I will make sure that every homeless person on this, in this community gets a blanket on a cold night. And I get a check for $10, I'm now in a contractual relationship. Legal contractual relationship to make good on that promise. I need to be careful about how I talk to donors because there's an expectation that that check is, in fact, a contract. So I need to make sure that my language fits what I'm actually going to do and actually able to do. Make sense? Okay, so this is homework. We have a whole workshop that on this slide that helps you develop your case for support, really helps you craft your messages. You need one. We're not writing one today, okay? But definitely journaling and ensuring that everyone who's doing fundraising, doing your marketing, serving within your organization understands this. Make sense? Any questions on this slide before I move on?
I have one question. On the law thing, where do we find the legalities of that so that we know that whether we're stepping into sharkish waters as far as what you're promising versus what you're asking for?
That's internal.
Just keep it that vague?
Well, so you just have to ask yourself, is what I just promised realistic? So if you wanted to say your contribution will help us purchase blankets to ensure on cold nights our homeless population is warm. A very different message than if you give me $10, I buy homeless blankets. Okay. Blankets for the homeless. Okay? Because I don't think that, I don't think you can buy a blanket that will keep someone warm for $10, right? And you would then have to find them, so just be really clear that when you get dramatic language, that you can make good on it. Okay. Okay? And then keep your receipts, right? So some of you might have a campaign that says for every $25 that we get, we're going to purchase 10 pounds of canned goods. Great. Keep the receipts so that if any donor were to come and say, prove it, you can prove it. And if the reporting requirements of proving that is outside of your ability as an organization, don't make the promise. Again, this is going back to being a little bit more trustworthy, right? Are we making claims or conditions with our donors that our donors know that we really can't live up to? Okay, so these are hard questions, critical internal questions. You have a mission. So what? So what? Can you communicate to a donor that your mission has value and is important from a critical lens? Right now, you're like, if your organization lives in an echo chamber, everybody loves us. Everybody loves us. Everybody loves what we do. You haven't gone outside that circle and really had somebody take a look at your mission and your purpose and make sure that you can communicate your so what. Why are you important? What happens if you don't exist? Be honest. If no one will notice that you don't exist because there's multiple other organizations that will just fill in the gap, make sure you understand that, right? Duplication is not bad. Competition is bad. Duplication is not bad. Be able to communicate that, yes, we're a food pantry. If this food pantry doesn't exist, those families will go to another food pantry. Those food pantries run out of food in their first hour. The reason why we have so many food pantries is because there's so much need. And we're working as a safety net. Some people go to a food pantry every single day to get their dinner, right? We matter. This is important. Yes, there's a lot of us. So being able to explain why there's duplication, why there's overlap, the waiting lists for the services that are similar is really important. Work together with those similar organizations. Why should people care? Why should people care that, pick one, there's a historic building that needs saving? Why should people care? What of value does that have to our community? And if you can't communicate it, then you need to spend a lot of time figuring out why that matters, right? And that you can communicate that to folks. And then again, how are you unique or different from those around you? What is different about this historic building versus that historic building? What's different about this park than that park? Why should I as a donor care? I only have 2 pennies to rub together, but I want to give them each to an organization that matters. Are you that organization? Any questions? How much time do you spend talking about the alignment of your mission and your programs? How much time do you spend as an organization collecting the data about your impact? There's a difference between inputs and outcomes. Inputs, outputs, outcomes. Do you all know the difference between those words? Inputs are all the things that you put into your mission. Your human resources, the programs, the people, the rooms, the flyers, the pizzas, whatever that is, your inputs. Your outputs are 10 people came, 100 people came. People care about the outcome and how much time and investment are you spending identifying those outcomes. What happened? How were these people impacted? How were they changed? What occurred about what you're doing that makes a difference? The more you communicate your outcome instead of your output, the better relationships you will be able to build with your donors. Make sense? Any questions? All right, some development principles. People give to people. As much as we care about our organizations, people need to trust the leadership, trust the people involved, and believe that they're going to do and fulfill whatever commitment they've made. So that means that you have to build trust. Your fundraisers, your developers, your leadership within your organization, they need to go out and be visible and be present. It's not about money, it's about need. For most of us in this room, I bet you waste more money than you donate, right? Starbucks coffee, sitting on your couch on a Friday night, I'm going to buy a Netflix movie because I want to do that, or you go to a movie. So again, we all have plenty of money. It's not about the money. It's about communicating need and putting the right people in the right place at the right time to be able to communicate their ability to impact the community. You open hearts and minds, then make an ask. I need an intellectual reason to follow my heart. We all do. It's money. It's still about, is this a good financial decision? Help me prove that. I'm committed, but I need some data to understand why I'm giving you more money than $25. All of us would write a $25 check to, a couple of times a month to a nonprofit. We all need more donors that are willing to be more committed than $25, right? And so we need to really begin to invest in those relationships. Development professionals are skilled, active listeners. There's a slide in here that's going to tell you to stop talking. Your donors are telling you something, especially in those one-on-one meetings. They're telling you what they want. They're telling you the impact they want to make, the purpose that they want to have. You need to connect those dots for them that you are the organization that can do that. But the only way you're going to be able to do that is to listen to them. Don't ask people to give, inspire them to give. Again, this is a great exercise. There's a slide in here that will actually prove the point a little bit better. But I'm not even going to start at 1. Raise your hand if you donate to more than 5 nonprofits. Just 1 gift a year, but regularly, 5 nonprofits. 1 gift a year. So that's like the change at the grocery counter, right? Like buying candy bars and popcorn, like that kind of donation. More than 5 a year. Keep your hands raised. 7 a year. Girl Scout cookies. The person that, right? We got more than 10 a year. Raise your hand if you're a monthly giver to 1 nonprofit. 2 nonprofits. 3 nonprofits. 4 nonprofits. 5 nonprofits. 10 nonprofits. We all have, so again, loyalty is there. We need to make sure that we're inspiring people to give to our organization. There is no pie. We have enough. This community has enough. Okay? We need to thank donors properly. There's a slide in here with some research that if the donor continues to believe that you don't see them, the donor will believe that you don't matter. They will give money to organizations that show that they matter. So our follow-up process is way more important than how we got the gift. The whole reason we're soliciting a donation is for the follow-up plan, not the solicitation. How many of you have a really robust, amazing thank you process? 1. This is the 2. Good. This is where you need to invest more time, energy, and money. If you're doing an event and you have not invested enough time and energy into the follow-up process, and you're so grateful the morning after that it's done, you're doing the event wrong. The work comes the day after. The work comes in the follow-up with everyone who attended to make them know how important their attendance was. That's the whole reason you have an event. The event is acquiring a donor. The thank you is retaining it. Okay, so here's the purpose of fundraising. This is why you do everything you do. It must connect back to these three principles. The first is to acquire donors. How many of you have had a new restaurant open up in your community? How long do you think it takes that restaurant to let the community know they exist?
A while.
Huh?
2 to 3 months.
2 to 3 months. How much money? It's a lot of marketing dollars, right? What about in your grocery store if there's a brand new product? How do you know that the product is there among all the other products? Signage. Samples. Yep. It's a lot of work, right? Introducing yourself to your community takes a lot of time, energy, and money. Guess what? Some of you only do that to a donor that's given to you. Some of your appeal letters, your marketing efforts are like, hi, my name's Regina and I'm with Nonprofit Network. And you're like, she just did that like a half an hour ago. I know who she is. I absolutely know who she is. Okay, I'm going to get, maybe she missed me. I get it. Okay. So I'm going to go about my business. And then all of a sudden Regina appears. Hi, my name's Regina. I'm with Nonprofit Network. At some point you're going to be like, she clearly doesn't know who I am. And so every time you send an email or a letter or any solicitation to somebody who gives to you before, and you're spending the same energy and effort to reintroduce yourself, not deepen the relationship, you're wasting your money. The acquisition strategies are the most expensive thing that you will do. Don't repeat them to donors that currently are in love with you. So this is acquiring donors is impulse. How many of you do a golf tournament? Okay. How many opportunities during a golf tournament do you get to deepen your relationship with a donor? A lot? Prove it.
Well, we specifically worked in we passed out snacks like halfway through, and so we were
Shook
able to
hands
stop and
thanked them for
talk to
coming,
everybody. And
gave
then when they first came in, we served donuts and coffee, and then afterwards we had a lunch. And
Yeah. How many of your golfers do anything but golf?
what do you mean? Like
Do they send a check afterwards? Do they go to your dinner? Do they?
50-50, 60-40.
Okay. Stop sending those 50 or 60 to your golf outing. It's an acquisition event. An event is either two things. You're acquiring donors or you're thanking donors. What does a raffle do? Not much. Unless it's collecting names and addresses, valuable names and addresses, that you can then send a welcome letter. Thank you so much for buying a raffle ticket. The raffle ticket is not going to get you enough money. A relationship with a donor that repeats their gift over and over and over again is the goal, okay? So we need new pipelines. You need a strategy, a plan to actually acquire new names with the hope that 10% of those names will give a second gift. So that, especially if we have some what's the opposite of acquisition? At the end, when they leave us, what's that word? Lapsed? Lapsed, or whatever it means to run away. We need to constantly be refilling that pipeline for retention value, okay? So, acquisition, 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 acquisition. Everything needs to attend to an acquisition of donors. It's the most expensive gift you're ever going to get. It's also your donor's least amount that they will ever give to you. It's their first gift. They're never going to give a bequest if they haven't given a gift statistically, okay? So not only is it the most expensive gift you're going to get, it's also not their most expensive gift they want to give you. It's a test. What do you think the first gift is testing, and how are you responding to that test? What do you think they need to see from you? Appreciation and serving your mission, that you did with the money what you said you were going to do. How do they know that you did with the money what you said you were going to do? Communication. Absolutely. How many times do we send that thank you note? We send, we've got the thank before you bank rule. I haven't even deposited the check yet. How can I tell them that I spent their money wisely? How many thank you notes do you think I should send to a first-time donor? Maybe more than one. Not only did I receive your gift, I want to tell you now that I've spent it. And the output, the outcome was amazing. Acquisition. And then we're moving those donors into habitual donors. Maybe they give us once a year, maybe they start giving us monthly. But that process of taking an acquired donor and moving them into a regular donor, whether it's monthly, whether it's quarterly, whether it's yearly, that is where we start making money. That's where we start earning income. So we have to have true retention strategies, which again are the thank you, the follow-up, the communication, and asking our donors to become monthly donors. It really is amazing. How many of you, your organizations, have monthly donors? Isn't it lovely? How many more do you need? Double? So some of those monthly donors probably, maybe, decided to do that on their own. What if you had solicitation strategies where I, as a donor, got something and go, oh, that's right, I would like to give them something monthly. See, I give them $100 a year. If I give them $25 a month, I could afford that. You just increase that gift. And a $25 donor for 2 years is primed to become a $50 donor after 2 years. And 50 becomes 100, especially if you continue to communicate. So we acquire donors and then we retain them. Nonprofits are really, really bad at donor retention. Guess why? Zero retention strategies. They don't even think about it. So the organizations that have the paid fundraisers, most of you probably don't, but the organizations that have the paid fundraisers, that's what they know to do. They're paid to retain the donor, not get them. So retention, so we lose, the nonprofit sector generally loses more donors than we get on any given year. Our fault. Communication strategy. And then finally, this is a very small pie, but a very important pie. Finally, we do upgrade donors, which are donors that either give us a lot of their money while they're living or put us in their will. We like that. We want to solicit that. So again, some of the strategies are just reminding people that yes, you accept bequests, that that's an important part. Especially when you're talking to people, right? This is communication messages. Somebody who has a will is thinking about their legacy, thinking about the fact that they will pass and they will have something to leave behind. My 29-year-old son is not thinking like that right now. He's not thinking like that. 50-year-old isn't thinking like that. 60-year-old isn't thinking like that. So you have a generation that has, their friends are passing. They're thinking about the fact that they're not going to be around forever and might start making plans. That's your prime target audience, is those that want to leave something behind, leave a legacy after they're gone. We'll talk about those generations and those messages in a minute. Okay? Questions? How many of you are using all strategies, focusing on all levels of giving? How many of you have a planned giving program? How many of you have an upgrade strategy? How many of you are really good at retention? Okay, how would you know if you're good at retention? What would you be looking at?
A return from those people.
So you would be watching your donor database and you would say, hey, this person, you would have a donor database, and you would be noticing that this person gives you year after year after year. You would have a donor database that would tell you that, right? So when we get into the basics of what you need, that's something that you might need in which to collect donor information and then create retention strategies. So the 80-20 rule. This is a great rule for a lot of things, volunteers and donors. The 80-20 rule says that you're going to get about 80% of your needs by 20% of your population. You do need to know who your largest donors are, and you need to focus your efforts on large donors. Everybody is not going to be a major donor. Everybody is not going to be a retained donor. They're going to give you an impulse gift. They either like you or they don't. But if you are spreading your tablespoon of peanut butter out evenly across your toast, you're not going to get the return if you were to focus efforts on a smaller number of people that you have strategically identified. Does that make sense? That goes for your volunteer base. 80% of the volunteer needs that you have are going to be performed by 20% of your volunteers. Know them, love them, take care of them, nurture them. Donors are the same thing, are the same way. What do you do for your top donors or your top volunteers? That is different than the person that's committed 2 or 3 hours or $2 or $3.
Haven't appreciated them enough.
So, and I had this is very important, that is about love languages. How do they want to be appreciated? If you don't know that, you cannot do that effectively. So do they want their name in your newsletter or not? Never put my name in your newsletter, right? Do they want office supplies or a small little token, or will your volunteer or donor think that's a waste of money? Do they want time with you? Do they want a special tour? Or they don't want you to waste that kind of time, right? You have to have plans of one, opportunities of one, to really understand that top tier of your donor or your volunteer database. Any other ideas for recognizing key people within your organization?
Constantly thank them.
Constantly thank them, yes. As long as it's not uncomfortable to them. Right?
We try to feature them in our newsletter every month, someone new, calling out what they do and how they contribute.
Is that for them or is that for other people?
It goes out to all our givers.
So are you trying to use them as examples of what other people could contribute, or is that an appreciation of them? Okay. Because it could be both, right? Look at the really creative ways these people are giving. Call me if you want to think about ways that you would creatively contribute. Other ideas?
We went on just had a day out. I got in my van and we went out to lunch and we went shopping and didn't know what direction we were going, just had a day out.
Cool. Who bought lunch? Might be your donor. Like, it doesn't, like, especially if there's a gift of time there.
They bought their own lunch and our organization bought dinner with permission.
Sure. Sure.
Sure, I got permission.
Yep. Any other ideas? All right. I want to give you a chance for a break. Does anybody need a bio break? Okay. So we're going to take a 10-minute break because I think the bathrooms are small. But if you're all back in your at your tables and staring at me in 8 minutes, I'll start. How's that? All right, 10 minutes. The first thing you all need is a donor database. Raise your hand if you actually have a database. Nice. Awesome. And is that database searchable? Are you able to identify who's giving multiple gifts and what prompted their gift? Are you able to identify how that gift came in? Electronically, a check, what? Okay, but you're not tracking what prompted the gift. Okay. So you may want to make that adjustment. That is a life cycle adjustment. So as you recognize the number of donors that you have, you want to be able to make sure that the donor database is working for you. Who has given to you 3 years in a row but didn't give to you this year, right? Being able to ask that question and then create a plan of one. Did they pass? Did they stop giving to you because they're mad? Can you rectify the situation, right? You need a donor database that's going to tell you that information. The other thing you need is a prompt personal acknowledgement system. You want to be able, especially for your monthly givers, you want to be able to freshen their thank you note every few times after they've given. At least once a year, freshen and change their thank you note so that it's new. You want to make sure that their thank you note responds to whatever it is that they gave you the money for. So let's say you write an appeal letter and your appeal letter is your holiday gift, you know, your annual gift. You want to make sure that you're talking about the annual gift and not a check that they wrote in to pay for an auction item or whatever, right? You want the thank you note to match their motivation for giving. And to be able to say in 6 months or 8 months, you gave to this appeal that was talking about our efforts to build this program, I'm giving you an update. If you're, again, you don't want to appear like you don't know them. And so you want to be able to make sure that you, again, you're building trust. I know why you gave me money. I'm telling you what we've done with the money. I'm building that relationship. Fundraising and philanthropy is a numbers game. It is about relationships. You need more people doing it. So you need a board recruitment, a volunteer recruitment program for volunteers to solicit other people, to work your fundraising plan. So, and let's be honest, not everybody is right for fundraising, right? And so you don't want to make everyone do it. You want to be really strategic. And you want to provide those that have the capacity or the interest, the appropriate training so they do it well. You need your case for support. You need a budget and resources in order to develop your fundraising program. You need a plan. You need SMART goals. How do you know your acquisition efforts are working if you're not measuring that? If you don't have a plan to say, we think this effort is going to generate 200 names. And if it only generates 50, was it successful or not, and why, right? So that requires a plan. You need an up-to-date dynamic website. Generations, and the next couple of slides are all generational trends. People are researching you. People are going to go to your website. You need to have a website that has a current date, that has your current board, that has your current programs. It's an investment, but it's an investment that's well worth your time and energy. You need to accept credit cards in multiple forms. You need to be able to accept credit cards in person. You need to be able to be savvy enough to do an ACH withdrawal or a relationship between two banks on behalf of your donors. And you need a gift acceptance policy, which means that you know and have had a conversation that if somebody comes and says, I want to give you my house, that you know whether or not you would say yes or no. And some of you would say, I would definitely say yes. Except it's got back taxes, it needs a roof, you're not going to be able to sell it, it's going to be on your books draining cash for a really long time, right? Or somebody's going to come and give you a really expensive, famous piece of art. And again, you're either going to have a gift acceptance policy that says we will convert all gifts to cash within 30 days. And the donor knows our policy is that we turn this around in 30 days, which means your Monet probably is not going to go for the amount of money that you think it's going to go for. Because one, if we have to keep it safe, keep it in a storage, no one gets this kind of art. I'm just, making sure you think. Keep it safe, keep it from getting water damaged, making sure it's insured, and then finding the appropriate purchaser to get the most amount out of that gift, right? So a gift acceptance policy at least recognizes that you know what it is that you're getting. Even when people give you stocks, especially as volatile as the market right now, are you going to sell it right away? Will you accept it right away? Will you accept it when it's low? Will you accept it when what is the policy around that? Now, for some of your finance committees, this is an appropriate conversation. For other finance committees, way above where your life cycle is right now. But certainly you need to start thinking about converting in-kind donations into cash and what that looks like for your organization. Any questions about anything on this list? Yes?
I have one question. So we have this friends group that people send these checks to. They send out a letter. They used to send out a letter once a year. So if someone, say we revitalize that, we send out these letters, they join the friends group. If someone drops off of that the next year, is it appropriate to send a follow-up saying we
miss you. We miss you.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is, and artificial intelligence and chat GPT, if you open that app and type into there, I need a letter to send to a lapsed donor, cut and paste. I mean, there's a lot, certainly edit that and make it yours, but there is so much language out there that is easy to find for your, and you can even say, a lapsed donor letter for a historical society, right? You can do all of that and it will give you some amazing base language that you can utilize for good. Yes?
I'm sorry. Is there a credit card that nonprofits can use that don't have to pay a 3%?
No, there isn't. And there, the financial institutions, but no, there's not. You can shop around for rates and then just be educating your donors. There's a lot of nonprofits that when you make a donation using a credit card, they automatically add on a charge or ask you to commit to covering the fees. That's one way to get around the charges. Yes?
Do you recommend a donor database?
No, I won't. And partially is because your criteria, like in this room, there's some popular ones. Bloomerang. Who's using Bloomerang? Who's using Razor's Edge? What are you using? Excel. Oh. So you said, I kind of have a donor database. I have a list. You have a list. Little green light. Do you love it or hate it?
I don't love it, but I came from Razor's Edge, and it's a little easier to use.
Yeah. So the reason why we do not recommend any is because though, like, everybody's their needs, how many users, whether they want it online, whether they want what kind of exports, what kind of reports, all of those things matter. But Razor's Edge, Bloomerang, you said Green Light. There are a million donor databases out there. There's also some really good articles that help you identify how to know if the software you're looking at will fit your needs. Yes?
We talked a lot about follow-up thank yous and whatnot. Currently, we mail thank yous to our donors. Do you think that's the best, or is an email thank you sufficient?
I have the email is sufficient. I have heard that however you receive the donation should be your response mechanism. So if they mailed you a check, you mail a thank you note. If they electronically delivered the donation, you electronically deliver back to them. But again, sometimes you ask.
Most people are so surprised or shocked to get a thank you note in the mail that it does make a big impression.
If you can make the letter look like it wasn't sent bulk mail. So handwritten address, a real stamp, those types of things. Yep. Like in a note card type thing instead of a business envelope. Yep. Even your appeal letters, making them not look like it's junk mail is important. Okay, fundraising trends to watch for 2023. All of these are advancing your ability to take non-check, non-cash gifts. And that is really the message that, that most of our financial tools are diverting away from a check. And so we really need to get savvy with the other tools in which we get money from. And so there is a cost to that. There is credit card charges. But most people, especially when you start getting into generational statistics, are giving online. You have right now the silent generation. I'll get into it. But those that are over 77, I think, are still the only population that really likes to write checks. Everybody else would prefer to give online. So you need digital wallet payments. So like somebody coming up and saying, what can I tap to give you a gift? Card readers during events. No one is using cash. Like the number of people that actually walk around with a $20 bill anymore is very rare. Text giving is a trend that you might want to consider. Again, all of these come with a cost, so you shouldn't purchase the software and then not have a ton of strategies that are going to generate money from those strategies. Fundraising versus inflation. Analyzing your donation data is important, especially for those that have been giving you the same amount for a while. You need to diversify your revenue. Look at all of your streams of revenue. Make sure that there is a wide variety, not just program income, grants, individual donations, but it still remains true that if you can generate income yourself, fee for service, charge people for something like membership, that generating that income is and get that earned revenue to be at least 40% of your income, and that donations, grants, and other sources are 60%. That's the ideal ratio. If you can generate more revenue than that, if you're up to 60, 70%, awesome.
Most donors, especially small, are not itemizing anymore. So the thought of, with Venmo, I only get an email. So they'll say, Jennifer Phillips donated $5 for your campaign, and here's because I think in the short term, it's that first-time donor, and how do we retain them when that's the only piece of information that.
Yeah. I don't know Venmo well or Zelle or, I mean, like, Venmo is going to be your first, right? It's not going to be your only. Yeah, baby step. I think that there hopefully will be tools that they add to this new platform that allow you to at least email, like have communication. But again, that means that you have 10 different thank you notes on 10 different platforms that you're managing. And we're all in the same boat, right? We're all kind of muddling through this. But again, you're checking the name in your donor database, you're, looking for them on social media and trying to connect and, doing, again, it's a lot of time, energy, and investment. You got to figure out where to use yours to get the most ROI.
And we know it's not going to be in every situation.
Right.
That's a quick and easy for, you're at an outing or an event.
Sure.
Just go ahead and Venmo us or a registration.
Sure, yeah. Okay, here's some generational statistics. Why am I giving you statistics about how a certain population gives? So you know how to reach them, so you know how to talk to them, so that you can customize your approaches based on who you're talking to. This is segmenting your donor list. Some of you are going to say, I didn't think to add a column in my Excel spreadsheet about when people's birthday is. How do I even know how old they are? For many of you, you don't. But sometimes you will, right? When you're absorbing that information from your events, right? How are you using the data that's been being collected at the events that you're hosting? So, silent generation, turning 77 this year. 88% of them give. They donate an average of $1,300 to more than 6 organizations, and it equates to 26% of total giving. This is the prime population to begin talking about adding you to their will. Please hear me. Add you to your will. You're not getting everything. You want to be part of their giving plan. Many people in their will make sure that those 6 are in their will, and probably, they're going to get 1%, 2%, 3%. You want to be part of the list. You want to get on the menu. You're not asking for it all. You're not, right? So I just want you to recognize in your own brain, they're already writing a will. They already have a list of charities that they're going to give to. Add yourself to the list. That's the goal. So baby boomers, they're going to turn 57 this year. 72% of them give. They give to approximately $1,200 to 4+ organization, equates to 43% of the total giving. 24% say they were prompted to give an online donation because of a direct mail. So your mail that is going into their mailbox, QR code. Just pass your phone over this and you can give right then, right? So they're still opening their mail, they're still looking for the mail, that's great, but they still want an online option. So the more times, the more opportunities you can give your donors to give easily while they're standing at the kitchen counter before they recycle your letter. Because guess what? Who has a stamp in your house right now? So just recognize that some people might not. My son is not going to be able to give you a check at all. And if he actually figured out as an airline pilot how to put a check in an envelope, write an address, and get a stamp on it, you would have to send the check back because he didn't fill it out right. He signed it on the wrong line. Crazy kid, flying us around. Gen Xers turned 43 this year. They donated an average of $700 to 4 organizations, equates to 22% of giving. Email prompted 31% of online donations. So, so this, again, multiple strategies, but an email campaign, collecting those email addresses is going to be important. And then millennials. 84% give. Does that surprise you? 84% give, donates an average of $481 to 3 organizations, equates to 11% of giving, and 47% gave through the organization's website. Millennials are doing their research. So let's figure out why. So the silent generation, they're going to value personal connections and traditional forms of communication. They are your loyal donor. That's what they've always known. They don't have any reason to question that you're going to do anything different than what you say. I'm really sorry to say that our millennials have not learned that lesson. So focus on bequests, legacy giving, in-person events, and fundraisers. They prefer voice calls and direct mail. So when you're soliciting somebody in the silent generation, is it a good strategy to talk about your sinking ship, and if they don't give you money, you're going to close your doors? Why?
They don't want to contribute to a sinking ship.
They're looking for a legacy. They're looking for something that's going to be around long after they have passed. So they're looking for huge community impact, something that's going to attract the masses and impact the masses. When we get to baby boomers, right? Baby boomers might have grandkids at this point. They're looking at things that are keeping their kids in their own community. They're looking at ways to impact their grandchildren. We have to speak their language, right? So baby boomers, most philanthropic generation, feel a sense of responsibility to give back. Baby boomers are like, no one else is coming to rescue this community. It's got to be us. You've already all experienced that, right? So they prefer traditional, well-established organizations, tried and true. So when you're talking to baby boomers, you're talking about your track record. You're proving to them that you're going to follow through, that you have impact. And they're more likely to engage in offline giving, prefer voice calls, text, emails, and social media posts. So you're crafting a message to fit the population. Is this every baby boomer, every millennial? No. Are there millennials that don't have a stamp and a checkbook? Yes. These are trends. Generation X, characterized by pragmatism and independence, value transparency, more inclined to research organizations before donating, prefer to support causes that directly impact their own community. So baby boomers might be giving to more national organizations. And in fact, for those of you that raised your hand that says, I'm a monthly giver, how many of your monthly gifts went to national organizations? Many? Yeah. So it is recognizing and saying to that population, listen, your own community needs those gifts as well. Prefer to support causes that directly impact their own community, prefer voice calls, text, email, social media, and online giving. And then our millennials are prioritizing causes that align with their values and highly engaged in peer-to-peer fundraising. Which means in order to attract millennials, you need millennials to be actively working on your cause. Online fundraising is their forte. Crowdfunding, social media are powerful tools. Value a sense of personal connections with the causes they support. Prefer grassroots and smaller organizations because of lack of trust, right? And they prefer online giving. So again, from a millennial based, if you're an established organization that's been around for 100 years, you need to be communicating to millennials that you get it, that you get that we as a society have failed them and lied to them and told them a whole bunch of truths that aren't really true, and that you're working to fix it. That's how we talk to millennials, is yep, you're right. Most of the things that we told you growing up is a lie. Questions? So segmenting, the purpose of this, segment your list, recognize who's your audience and speak to your audience. And give them a method to give that is appropriate to how they want to give. Okay, so I want you to take 5 minutes And at your table, I want you to talk about how you would utilize the data given to you so far today. 5 minutes. Okay. Found some good ways to apply the data? Yeah. All right, good. All right. I know that you think I'm going fast. I'm going to start going faster. Okay. So I already said this. Stop thinking of your request as begging. You've got to change your internal messages. This is an opportunity to allow others to participate that don't have the time to do so. So change that philosophy within your brain. Others want to help. They need to help. Give them an opportunity to help. I already said this. People give to people. Show up. Be authentic. Be authentic with all of your tools. All right, the ladder of effectiveness. This is acquisition. I call this the distance between noses. You can surely purchase a billboard that asks for money, and you will get $0. Okay? Lots of people will see it, but there is 0 ways that that person is going to connect with a human through a billboard. You can talk about your organization, you can certainly gain awareness, but that call to action is going to fail. So in-person asking is a 50% response rate, meaning that of 4 people, 2 are going to say yes. If you're doing in-person asking and you are getting 4 people to say yes, you are not asking enough people. This is tried and true, meaning that you can use it as a test of whether or not your strategy is working. If you're asking in person and you get 0 yeses, that means your ask or the person is the wrong fit or model. Okay? This is your goal. So in-person asking, you're going to get a 50% response rate of yes. The other person is going to go, not now. And then you're going to get 1 solid no. Not so scary anymore, right? You can handle 2 no's for every 2 yeses. Come on. Personal phone call, 25% of them are going to say yes. Might not be for the amount you're asking for, but 25% are going to say yes. Personal letter from an individual that the individual knows, right? 10 to 15% are going to respond with a yes. Phone-a-thon, just a whole bunch of people calling a whole bunch of random numbers. 5% are going to say yes. Direct mail, which is a cold list, meaning they don't have any idea who you are. You're at least going to get a 0.5% of the people that are going to say yes. And then online and special events, they just vary, right? Depending on your list. If you're following this as your goal, then you can test whether or not the strategy is working. And you can see that the closer you are to the person, the more likely they are to say yes. Remember that acquiring donors is expensive. Direct mail doesn't necessarily work anymore, that cold list. Online presence and strategies are essential, and you have to watch your costs. You can easily spend way more than you generate through acquisition strategies. So don't squander opportunities. Here are some acquisition strategies. Social media website, donate now, GoFundMes. You can purchase a list. Typically a net loss, but using some, if you follow through with all of the strategies, you might be able to turn an ROI. Look at the people that naturally come to you, including some clients. So collect those people that are already close to you and utilize some fundraising strategies with them. Ambassadors, gathering the names of people that love you and asking who they know, right? It's a network. A published list of donors that give to another organization. So you have a lot of historical societies, right? Start publishing your list, sharing your list. Who isn't on your list that should be on your list? And then using events and gatherings and invitations to connect. Don't squander opportunities to collect names. If you're having an event and you don't know who showed up, you're doing it wrong, right? The whole purpose of the event is to collect those names, to be able to send a thank you note, and be able to develop a relationship. If your event is not doing that, figure out a way to fix it. Questions? Okay. All of your easy fundraising strategies cost a lot of money. And if you're not tracking the amount of volunteer time that is going into it, you're misrepresenting how much that event actually costs. So just be aware of that. People expenses are important. Nurturing those volunteers, the burnout rate of volunteers who are constantly doing events, all plays a part in the cost to your organization. Other easy strategies to insert requests. Insert an invitation to be a donor everywhere. So don't squander an opportunity that's going to be in front of people without telling them that you need money. It's a reminder. They inherently know a nonprofit organization needs donors, but remind them and give them an invitation. This could be your email signature, even your personal email signatures. Business cards could have a QR code on the back with a donate now. Physical space, like what is your goal? Again, we're building trust with donors. How much money do you need? How many of you still attend a church? How many of you know exactly how much it costs for your church to run? Why is that?
It's published in different various times during the year.
Sure.
And it's also, your weekly giving is published.
Yep.
And so it's kind of...
Churches, the religious institutions still have a the largest group of donors, and it's because the churches communicate well with the people that donate money to them. Now they have an advantage. They have a weekly population that they can communicate, but we can practice some of those same methods of this is how much it costs for us to operate, this is how much we've have so far. The kids want to go on a mission trip. We don't have any money to just send them. Let's get together and have a spaghetti dinner and send them on the mission trip. And then what happens when they get back from the mission trip? They sing and they dance and they show pictures. They actually went on a mission trip. And then you can see how that impacted them. All of those strategies that religious institutions use work for us too. We just have to practice them more often. Check your assumptions. Everyone could be a major donor. Again, we use strategies that say, I'm only going to send a thank you note to anybody that gives me more than $500, right? Because that's our judgment. Those are our values of where we spend our time. Every donor should get a thank you note. Every donor should get a thank you note. How are we helping people make their second, third, and fourth gifts? We have to ask and say, you gave us once, it was amazing. That $15 that you gave was like, we used it it helped us get over this hump. We have other programs that we'd like you to contribute to. This is how you can help, right? Ensure you are inviting people to make planned gifts in their estate plan. Again, this should be sprinkled everywhere in your solicitation. It should be a page on your website. If you need help making a will, this is the lawyer that we recommend. This is how we might use a legacy gift, like we're in the middle of a capital campaign, or we have naming rights for really big donors. But create that space on your website or in your materials so people know that you're interested and accepting of those gifts. Truly value all gifts, focus on donors, not donations, and work with more volunteers. Yes?
It'll come back.
If you're donor,
Forget that sometimes.
right, if you're donor-centric, we need to recognize what a big gift is to them, not to us.
And that happens often.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes. I'm not a big gift in your world, but in mine, you're my biggest gift. Again, broken record. Don't squander opportunities to collect names and invite people to connect with your organization and your mission. Don't have too many events. Use the events for its purpose, acquisition or recognition of donors. Events are tools, use them appropriately. I have not once said that an event is a fundraising strategy. Not once today. And I never, ever, 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 ever will. Rarely is an event an actual fundraising strategy that is worth the time and energy unless you're collecting names and converting those event participants into donors. So what's the purpose of special events? Acquisition and prospecting. Feel good, upgrade strategies. The event can collect people, but also recognize that the people that you invited that didn't attend is a perfect opportunity for a phone call. We missed you. Can we take you out for coffee? I'd love to tell you what we were able to share in the slideshow at the event that talked about our future plans. Understand what you're netting, what your gross income and your net income is of your fundraising events, because it matters. Especially if you've got people that are like, no, we raise a bunch of money. No, we don't. I had to pay all of my staff to be there that day. It costs, from a staffing perspective, more than we brought in, right? Even your executive director who might be at the event, the burnout, the emotional toll of getting programs done and fundraising events done in the same week needs to be mitigated and acknowledged. And then every event donor needs a strategy, every event attendee needs a strategy that would lead them to a regular donation. So we're using events as gateways. This slide talks about all of those opportunities for a gateway event. You're greeting them at the moment of arrival. So you've got your key board members that are really good fundraiser and people engager that are at the door shaking hands, getting to know them. Thanks for coming. Why did you come? What can I help you with? There's your seat, right? Brief mix and mingle. You've got your program. Never miss an opportunity in any of your events to share your program, your mission, your history. Golf outings oftentimes don't have an opportunity to do that, at least impactfully. I'm not a big fan of golf outings. Sorry. Talk about the emotional impact to the people that you serve. Make sure that you do a thank you and a wrap up. And again, the only thing that matters about your event, except a really well-run event where people leave feeling good, is the follow-up after that, which is the most important step, and it never ends. So phone calls, thank you calls. If you've got enough volunteers to say, thank you for coming to our event, it was so amazing. Please look for or save the date for or whatever. And the sooner that you can connect and ask for feedback, the sooner you can ask for another gift. Big companies, big organizations that are really good at fundraising will ask for a second gift within 90 days after the first gift. So you have to have a system that will allow you to know if it was their first gift and what is your response in 90 days, right? I'm going to skip this. I'm sorry. I have a lot of slides. I want to get into retention. Nonprofits retain only 1 in 5 donors. This is statistically, usually because of the post-gift experience. Smart organizations are investing more money and resources into the follow-up process and into donor relationship and donor stewardship. Measuring the performance of your donor relations program is going to be important as you develop over time, and educating leadership and board members about this important metric is important. So having strategies that are focused on retaining donors, knowing who has given to you in the past, and making sure that you are aware of when they stop giving so you can have a response mechanism to that. There's a rule of 7. Some sites will tell you 8, but connecting with your donors 7 or 8 times during the year is important. Your thank you notes count as that, an email update. Your donors are not ATMs. Every communication cannot include a request. At least a direct solicitation can include a reminder, hey, if you want to give, here this is. But it's more newsy and updating and validating that you're using their donation wisely rather than constantly asking them for money. I'm going to skip this as well. So monthly giving statistics. 45% of your donors are enrolled in a monthly giving program. Be one of them that has a monthly giving program. The average monthly online donation is $52 compared to an average one-time gift of $128. Converting your donors to monthly givers is financially successful and achievable. And you know, like if you wanted to stop giving, for those of you that are monthly givers, if you wanted to stop giving to a nonprofit, it's really hard to figure out like, where do I go? Who do I call? I don't want to tell them. Like, are they going to know? So again, if you're thanking them well, they're not going to think about ending their gift. If you're thanking them well, they're going to be really excited when you pick up the phone and say, I'm wondering if you'd like to increase your gift. This is how we're going to use the money. We've got a new program. Your money would really help us generate more impact for this program. Monthly giving increased by 40% in 2017. This is the last year that I was able to collect statistics on monthly giving. Donors that set up recurring donations give 42% more annually compared to one-time donors. And 52% of millennials are more likely to give monthly over a large one-time donation. Cool, right? Okay. All right. Why do people upgrade? They upgrade because they believe in your mission. How do you know they believe in your mission? Huh? Because they donate, because they told you, right? It's they consistently show up. They're calling you, like they're giving you cues that they're ready to upgrade their gift. They look more committed. They appear more committed. You are telling them that you are using their money wisely. You're providing data and evidence that you're using their money wisely. They believe in your team, which means they know your team. For your monthly donors, for your regular donors, introducing them to your program staff, even through a newsletter, like here's the person that's actually delivering this program. Look at their resume, look at what they do, look at how they do it. Here's a little video of them actually performing the program, right? Which is not necessarily something you would do as an introduction, but you certainly don't want your regular larger donors not knowing anybody from your team, right? So you've got to create that relationship. And they upgrade because you ask them to upgrade. They don't know that you need more money. There is a lot of testimonials out there that from nonprofits saying, we were in a lot of trouble, but I didn't want to tell my donors that we were in trouble. Your donors are the first people that want to know that you're in trouble so they can help and help you figure it out. So if you're in a cash crunch, tell your donors and tell them why you're in a cash crunch. What's the plan, right? We lost this grant, or we didn't get this grant. They've figured out something new that they're doing. It happens all the time with foundations, happens all the time with corporate giving. You know, a major sponsor fell through. We need to raise an additional $20,000 by the end of the year. Can you help? Can you make us a one-time extra gift this year to help us be whole by the end of the year? Your donors want that information. They want to be able to be the hero. Give them opportunities to be a hero. However, make sure that every year you're not saying, hey, we're running short on cash. Use those opportunities wisely. So the upgrade process is, hey, you've been given to us for the last 5 years. You've been giving monthly, and for the last 5 years, you've been given $50 monthly. This is the total amount of money that you have given to us over the last 5 years. This is what we've done with it. The number of kids, people, animals, whatever, that you have impacted through your donations have been incredible. I want to know if you'd like to do more. And I want to tell you what we're going to do with your more. I want to tell you how this gift is going to impact. Would you consider? How many of you have been asked for a really big gift to you? A really big gift to you? How many of you have been asked, solicited by a nonprofit to give a really big gift? How did it feel? Did it feel bad? So it didn't feel bad to be asked. Like it was a true honor to have that organization come to you and say, would you be willing? I remember the first time that I was asked for a really big gift. The first thought in my head was, there's no way I can afford this. I absolutely cannot afford this. That is huge. It was 20 years ago, and I think they asked me for $1,000. I'm like, I can't. Where's that coming from? And then the person on the other end of the phone said, do you think you could make a monthly gift? That's only $50 a month. I was like, oh, I can do that. And I became a monthly giver. I'm still a monthly giver. So it was a reframing for me. I don't have that much in my checkbook. I am so honored that you think I would have that much in my checkbook. But now I've been able to contribute substantially to that organization, but I had to be taught how, right? So there's definitely an opportunity there, and it did not make me feel bad. It made me feel honored. It made me feel respected, and it made me feel part of the team. So when we're talking about less commitment, it might be that I am not given the opportunity or am not expected to be committed because you're not extending that invitation. So, acknowledge the most recent gift, show positive outcomes, explain why you need more money, ask, and then be quiet. So, one of the things that we recognize, and I don't know if I have the slide in the deck or not, for those of us that are nervous because we're waiting for an answer, we like to fill the space with a whole bunch of words. And we actually never give the person an opportunity to respond. Ask for the donation and be quiet. Let them think. Let them ask questions. Just wait. And that silence is uncomfortable, but get over it. It's a really powerful silence. If somebody didn't say no right away and there's a silence, they're about to say yes. Just let them think. So other ideas about creating upgrade opportunities. Special mention in the annual report. Again, sharing how other people have upgraded their gift. Special communication, special recognition, special. Quarterly get-togethers. Have all of your major donors get together for a donor luncheon to talk about some of the new ideas or the new programs or the new ways that the organization is going to respond to community conditions. Routine communication specifically for this group, and then always offer smaller gift opportunities for, again, membership, like treat them special. You want a coffee cup with our logo or a travel mug so everybody knows that you're a donor of us? Do you want a sweatshirt with our logo so you can wear it around with your friends? Like, people that love us want to tell other people that they love us. So how might that we allow them to do that? Okay, why donors stop giving? It is almost always 46%. Primary reason is that we stop communicating with them. We stop talking to them. We forget to tell them how important they are and what their gift was used for. We could retain, remember, we only retain 1 out of 5 donors. We could retain 2 more with some additional communication. So they feels the charity is not fulfilling its mandate. Raise your hand if you're not fulfilling your mandate. Some of you might not be. It's a good question. But if you are and they stop giving, it's because you haven't told them that you are. You haven't communicated your outcomes. You haven't communicated your impact. You have been silent. They disagree with a change in direction. if they understood your change in direction, they probably would continue to keep giving. So don't anticipate that they're going to be mad about a change. They're going to be mad that they didn't know about it. When you're thinking about huge, significant things going on in your organization, make sure that the people closest to you and most committed to you are not finding out through a grapevine. That you are strategically communicating with donors about things going on within the organization. Let them feel like they own it, that they have ownership. They've lost interest in the cause. You have a case for support. That lost interest is, again, on you. Communicate more. Make sure that you're sharing stories that connect to their heart. They believe the charity no longer needs donor support. Our fault again. Feels that there are more compelling causes out there. Maybe. But again, we can fight for that, that emotional tie if we nurture and steward that donor. And then believes the charity has not stayed connected. 46% of the reasons why donors stop giving to us are our fault, and we can fix it. This report is a report, I don't think I didn't. Penelope Burke, it's the donor-centered fundraising report. There's a lot of articles. If you go on YouTube, she talks a lot about generational giving and motivational giving. So if you want follow-up information, YouTube, Penelope Burke, with an E. So keys to retention and upgrading. Broken record. Thank you. Speak their language. Understand their motivation for giving. The 7 touches. Feed your soul and share your stories. Sharing your work is amazing, right? We love to talk about the work that we're doing. Do it more and do it with donors. Include simple bequest language early and often, and build a culture of philanthropy throughout your organization. I didn't share this. I think I removed some slides. I know, shocker, right? You're like, oh my God, she's still got like 70 slides to go. The difference between fundraising and philanthropy, anybody know what that is? Fundraising is a transaction. Philanthropy is a relationship. We will fail if we focus on fundraising strategies because we have to repeat them, right? That we're always asking for that gift. Philanthropy is our donors are involved in our organization, involved in our mission, and involved in our success. So we really want to be philanthropists. We really want opportunities to invite philanthropy into our organization. We want to steer clear of treating our donors like ATMs. Okay. Raise your hand if you know what the public support test is. Okay. So, as much as we want a sugar daddy or a sugar mama, it's illegal. The public support test requires charities to prove that they're getting, that they have multiple donors that are contributing to their cause. It is not the donor's fault that they respond to your request and then you violate your rule. So simply, it's a very complicated rule, but simply, one donor cannot give more than 33% of your total income on a regular basis. From the perspective of the IRS, that means that they have the potential of directing your efforts, that you would be beholden, might begin directing and changing your organization to protect this gift. The IRS doesn't like that. They want to prove that the entire community is supporting your nonprofit. So, bequests don't fall into that category. For one reason is because you're only going to get a bequest once, right? And the person is dead, they have no influence. So you can get a very large gift from one person once. You cannot get a very large gift from one person multiple times. It's a rolling 3/4. I just want you to be aware, because sometimes what we ask for is not actually what we need. The IRS will change your tax designation from a 5013C to a 5013CA. Does anybody know what a 5013CA is? It's a foundation. which means that if you're a foundation, you now have to behave completely differently than a nonprofit public charity, which is a 501c3. So we want to make sure that when we're asking for major gifts, that we know the rules and we know the limits of the gifts that we can accept. Now, if you have multiple sugar daddies and mamas, that's fine, because you've got multiple people giving you lots of money. That's great. That means you're growing. So it's not necessarily something to say no to, especially if it's something you can replicate. Does that all make sense? Okay. So just be careful what you ask for so that you're not getting your own self in trouble. Okay, so cultivating the top tier, which means that you have a donor database, you know who might be prime to give you money. And I'm not talking about just going, hey, it's my neighbor down the street, he has 3 boats, right? It's not that. The ABCs of this would be ability, belief, and connection. Oprah has every single one of those except they're not connected to your organization, right? So it's the 3 ABCs. They have the ability to give that kind of gift, they have a belief in your mission, and they are connected to you. You can build connection, right? So if you identify people with an ability, you've identified that they have a belief in your mission, then you start building a relationship. But again, that's acquisition, right? Because 80% of all people donate, 80% of people have the ability to give. We're not going to judge who has what or doesn't. We're looking for retained donors. We're looking for monthly donors. We're looking at people who have slowly responded to our request for an upgrade to get a major gift. Good? Okay. I'm okay. I'm okay. We'll get through the slides. I've got 20 minutes. All right. So, so does anybody want to spend do you have a couple of people that are primed for your top tier? Do you want me to spend time on these slides or skip to something that might be valuable for the room? Skip. Okay. Anybody want ask basics? Individual giving? One-on-one? Nope. Okay. So again, let's remember that if you call somebody up and ask them to go to coffee to give you a check, 50% of the time you're going to get that check. So this is, honestly, it's very easy, right? You're making the appointment. People are not dumb. If you make an appointment and say, hey, I'd really like to take you to a coffee, I want to talk about the organization that I'm with, they know what you're going to ask. If they say yes, you're already there. They're already willing to hear what you have to say, okay? So stop being nervous. Social pleasantries, and then you're going to make a transition. I really want to talk about this organization that I'm with. I want to talk about the impact. I want to talk about their mission. It's really important to me. I know why you said yes to this, or I know that you believe in the same things. I know that you work for similar organizations or whatever. I know your work over here is amazing. Make them understand the benefit, and then make the ask, and then be silent, okay? You will generate more money this is the cost of a cup of coffee versus 1,000 letters with postage that you're going to get maybe 10% response from, okay? This is a significantly beneficial strategy for you. Even if you use it 10 times a year, you're going to make more money doing this than a letter or a golf tournament. Okay. You might also provide a leave behind. Certainly if they say yes and they don't have anything with them, you're going to say, would you like me to stop by and pick up that check? Make sure you follow through. Okay. Be willing to fail. Be willing to get the no. Be proud to be an advocate and recognize that the no isn't a judgment on you. It's just they're not ready, or they might have to ask their spouse, or you asked for too much, or they need to think about it. That's all okay. Recognize that you're building your network, that asking and soliciting for your organization is actually beneficial because you get to learn how to talk about your organization. It might take you a while to get really good at talking about your organization and having the right responses to any questions. Don't judge those who don't give. You don't know what is going on with them. Again, you're still providing them an opportunity to give to your organization and contribute to something that's impacting the community. Find the positive in the outcome, even if it's just a cup of coffee. Remember that it's not the first time any of us have ever been asked for money. This is part of our culture. We are asked for money all the time to contribute to causes that we care about. We get national solicitation calls, right? Those organizations that we pick up the phone and they're like, hi, this is so-and-so, and you've been we've gotten a gift, we'd like you to upgrade. Listen to that. Don't hang up the phone, and really be curious about their strategy. Like, can I record this call? I'd like to use it in my own work. And you're giving people an outlet to make a difference. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about the role of the board and the role of the staff in fundraising. For those of you, I'll ask the question, whose job is it to fundraise? Everyone. Is it even are we asking our program staff to solicit? Are we asking our program staff to give? Is it their job to do that? I have a no. You have a yes? You have a yes? So unless we're paying our staff really, really well, we shouldn't be asking them to give. Like, this is an equity issue, okay? If it's in the job description of the person like our executive director, it's in their job description, we hope that our executive director is buying into the mission of the organization and possibly making a contribution. If we're paying them a living wage, an adequate wage, I think that we need to recognize that if we're not paying them well, they shouldn't be contributing back to the organization. The fact that we're not paying them well is their donation, right? So we need to recognize that. I think that board members, all board members should contribute to the process. But as I mentioned before, not everyone is a good fundraiser. And we certainly don't want to put our D and E team out front. So some people are going to be good at asking, some people aren't. Some people are going to be good at writing thank you letters, some people won't. Find a way to incorporate everyone into the process appropriately, okay? We don't want somebody writing thank you notes that we can't read their writing. So just all of those things matter. Who should make the fundraising plan?
Probably the board.
I think that the answer matters to your organization and where you are in the life cycle. Is it a governing board? Is it a working board? How much else is on the plates of everyone? I think it's a question that needs to be answered, but the answer needs to be fit your organization. There is no right or wrong answer. Okay? I already said this. Some people are good and some people aren't, but there's a lot of people that can do donor data entry. There's a lot of people that can make sure that the thank you notes are sent on time, put everybody on the team appropriately. And then here is a sample language. I forgot to talk about our handouts. There is a fund development interest form here. I also gave you a sample of a fundraising plan. But this is a potential way where you could collect how board members wish to participate in the fundraising process. This list needs to be customized for you, but this is not a single step process. Board members fill this out. And guess what? You need to sit and with the board members and make a plan about how they're going to fulfill this. If they say in December, yeah, I want to do a summer house party, and the next time you talk to them is the next December, it's not their fault that they didn't remember to do a house party, right? They need support. They need a conversation about the plan and how to implement the plan. So this is a tool for later conversations. You need somebody, maybe another board member, that will track where we are with their participation, okay? Does anybody use a tool like this already? Oh, good. And then this slide is sample language to a personal commitment form. So this handout is one possibility, or you say, here's my personal contribution goal. And you do this with a board member every single year, where they say, I'm going to make a gift of this. This is how I want to make it. I'm going to sign up for monthly giving via our website. Or quarterly. I'm going to sponsor a table. I'm also going to need extra tickets to this. I'm also going to host a house party, and I want to solicit the corporation that I work for a sponsorship. That's what I'm going to be doing. And then you might have another list where it says you also have to tell me this, but here's all other things that I have to sign up to do. And again, without somebody leading that process, or we don't actually follow up or read that document, we're never going to be able to utilize the board the way they want to. So these are good strategies for that. How do you raised your hand? I'm sorry, she's looking down. How do you use the board commitment process?
I was referring to the other thing we had, which was kind of a board grid where I
Oh.
said their strengths and weaknesses.
Yep.
Kind of applied it to that.
Okay.
We do an annual giving just to get it, so I'm not asking them and nickel and diming them every couple, it's like this is the commitment expectation.
Yep.
And then I love this.
Yeah. How many of you have 100% board giving on your board? Awesome. How many of you actually solicit a special ask to your board and say, hey, board members, this is our opportunity as a collective body to give? Awesome. I want to tell you that, and this might surprise you, when your board members receive the annual letter in the mail, they think it's FYI. They don't think you're actually writing them an appeal letter that shows up at their house that's a mass email or a mass appeal letter. They really are expecting a letter that's written for them and the level of commitment they have for the organization. So write a letter and send it or give it or have a board giving conversation during your board meeting. But if you're not getting 100% giving and you're like, yeah, but they get the letter, they don't think it's for you.
We also put it in their agreement that
Yep.
they are committing to donating to the organization
Yep.
at a specific amount.
Yep. And during board orientation, they should be getting that paperwork, right? And they need to understand at what point will I be given the tool in which to make my contribution. Again, they don't think the letter that arrives that was sent out to 5,000 people is their letter. They think it's, oh, look, I have proof that a letter was sent. I'm a good governance body, right? So again, what are the clear expectations for everyone? I was called in to an executive committee of a board, and they were really frustrated with their board members. They had a very large board. And they were like, no one's doing anything. And I'm like, well, what do you expect the board to do? And I'm not kidding. The executive director talked for 5 minutes in bullet point form about the expectations of board members. And my next question was, and have you told them this? And she was like, no. So your board members are not good guessers. So recognizing that you have to make clear the expectations of all of the board members and give them vehicles and tools in which to comply with their expectations. Your board secretary could do that. If you have a fundraising committee on your board, you can add that to their opportunities. But this is really important for those of us in leadership positions to recognize that people do not have ESP and they do not know what is expected of them until we tell them. I don't know if any of you have giving expectations, meaning like pay to play. You have to give us $1,000 to serve on this board. There are some organizations in some communities that do that. Recognize that any gift, again, donor-centric. My message to board members is make a gift that is significant to you, not to anybody else, and you have fulfilled your board obligation, right? So if they're raising money for the cancer walk and they've raised $1,000, they should be able to raise $1,000 for you. Again, this piece is in your, okay, development plan in 5 minutes. So this document is an example of how you can create and then assign tasks. It's exhaustive. For some organizations, you will not be able to fully complete a fundraising plan like this with 3 or 4 people. So you need to make sure that the plan is realistic to you with the amount appropriate that you're going to be able to generate from that opportunity. So again, lots of diversity here, lots of methods. You want a full calendar for your fundraising plan. Some organizations have been successful with only seasonal fundraising, but I think when we look at retention and upgrade, that year-round calendar planning, even if like fall is our retention program, spring is our acquisition program, those things work, but I think you need a full 12-month calendar and a full 12-month plan. And then this list talks about diverse revenue streams, getting into plan giving, having a capital campaign. Is anybody thinking about a capital campaign? Okay. Web-based giving, again, making sure that all of your tools are available to you and that you're using them appropriately. I'll let you read those on your way out. Okay, so I want to go around the room, a couple of people. I want you to tell me what your action plan is. What are you going to do with the information? You just spent 3 hours with me. There's got to be at least one thing I said that resonated. If you do not identify what it is you're going to do with this information, you'll walk out of this room, you'll get in your car, and you will have spent 3 hours, lovely morning with great pastries, but unless you make a plan, you won't do anything with it. So my question to you, what is it that you're going to do? And if I could have 5 or 6 people just share what they're going to do.
I have a meeting with my group on Thursday, so I'm taking my notes and I'm going to prepare them and go over with my other board members.
Awesome.
There's a lot of things here I haven't thought of, and I've done a lot of stuff for years, but a lot of stuff that was new and
good. So share the information, but again, this question, what are we going to do with it, is the most important question. What's the action plan? What else?
Well, first I'll review all the information that you gave me to see what action plan I can make up of a lot of these categories. But the main thing is to check out the QR plan to get that utilized, and then also donor whatever sort on the website.
Be careful about where you get your QR codes because some of them expire. So if you're going to put a QR code, make sure you've purchased a subscription. It's not very many dollars, but you certainly don't want the QR code to go to some other place. Right. Awesome. Thank you. Someone else? Yes?
After reviewing everything, my job and my goal is to go ahead and put together an ask program. A program with which we can recontact the people who already love us by,
Yep.
Let's see how much more I can get them to love me. And then figure out a way to put together
end of year holiday ask?
Yep, yep. So certainly your low-hanging fruit are the people that you already give to you regularly.
Right.
Figure out retention and upgrade strategies there, and then build your acquisition program. Awesome. Yes. Yeah, thank yous. Thank you, thank you, thank yous. There are, when I worked at the Humane Society, they're simple strategies, but I had volunteers that went around to all the kennels and would take pictures every month. And then this was when, and I think they still are, really cheap, 5-cent pictures. And we would put a picture in the thank you note with a little story about the animal, how it got to us, and how long it's been with us, right? So again, the connection to mission, if you work with kids, having kids draw pictures, using those pictures, either embedding them as a JPEG into your document, but remember to add those pieces in, because that's connect with the mission, not just thanks for your gift, right? Tell a story, engage people. Another one, yes.
I think the big thing is for me is to remember this is very much like a marketing plan.
Yeah.
In that not everyone is going to get my ask the same way.
Yes.
Same as people don't find a restaurant the same way.
Right.
And then, and you also want to retain your customers. You want to retain your
Yes.
owners and make, upgrades. You upgrade customers all the time.
Yes.
Same, so it's very similar to like a marketing plan for a business, a retail restaurant.
It absolutely is. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. One more.
The monthly, finding monthly donors.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. And again, you just think about how many emails that you send out. What are the things that we always do? Putting that, you probably don't need a QR code on your website because they're already there, but everything else probably needs a QR code. Donate now. People love to scan those and see where they go, right? So track that. You should have analytics on your QR codes and on your website to find out what people's behavior is. Make sure that your Donate Now button on your website has the fewest clicks possible. Like a bounce rate is somebody gets frustrated and leaves before they finish the process. That means that you have too many barriers in front of them. So watch that. Yes.
I wonder how many folks here have an annual retreat, even if it is informal, but wouldn't this be something to incorporate into your calendar so that you kind of know what your goal, 1 or 2 basic goals for the next year or 2 years? I've been trying to promote that on our board, but it doesn't have to be formal or expensive, but just to get together and to make a calendar and to get some things in place would be terrific.
Sure. I actually deleted slides today, but I know it was a surprise. But one of the 10 of the slides were around connecting your fundraising strategies with your strategic plan. And as part of your annual discussion about what you're going to do this year, your fundraising strategies probably need to be embedded and aligned. Which programs do we want to build? What's the fundraising strategy that's connected to that? Any other questions? I know it's 12:02. Any questions at all? Yes.
What are your thoughts on insuring board members for life insurance?
As part of a fundraising strategy? Insuring board members?
Board members and former board members.
I don't know. I haven't heard of that before. Let me do some research. If you send me an email, I'll get back to you. Nancy's going to be sending you a link this afternoon to an evaluation. We use this about the feedback you give me. One, that Nancy's going to send it to all of the funders and say, look, it was worthwhile, it was impactful, because she's using really good follow-up strategies. I'm going to use the data to make sure that your next class, which is around board recruitment on October something, is designed around your needs and your expectations. So it's really valuable. Please fill it out. It will take you about 2 minutes. Nancy?
Yeah, so first of all, thank you, Julie. So again, part of that measure of success, right, is there's a bunch of you here today that this is the second time you came back. So hopefully you've all received good, positive information and communication from us. And as Regina said, our next session is on October 24th. Same location from 4 to 7 p.m. It is board recruitment and orientation. So for those of you that are staff here, bring your board. For those of you that are board, come back and bring your fellow members. Especially as a community like us, we know how many of you are on multiple boards, and wouldn't we like to have more of us and engage? So please sign up. We have plenty of room. There's sheets on your table. I will be sending you again an email, one with the link to the survey. That'll be your first, and then within a week, I'll be working with Regina's staff to have the new sign up for the next session. So please register for that, and that is important to register online, so we have your contact information. A couple other things. This is being recorded. Our first session was recorded, so you can find it online. If you want to listen to it again because you missed a point, or you want to use it as part of your board development, please feel free. It is on our YouTube channel, so if you just go on YouTube and you search Lapeer County Community Foundation, we also have links on our website. And I will send you a link to the recording, so you will have that. The last piece is you talk about fundraising. We are a community foundation. I know many of you in your organizations, we are one of your funders. So our job is to help the helpers, right? We connect donors in the community that want to do good things. And they are all motivated by the types of things and the interests that you spend as your daily work. So please always reach out to the Community Foundation to see if your needs align with our grant making. Have that conversation, just like your donors. Don't just hit me up. You know, they're going to turn off your lights next week. You haven't had a conversation about where you're at, and hopefully you might have an idea, and we can not only connect our resources to you, but other people, because we have donors that are always looking for something that they might want to connect with. So please use us as a local resource, not just for board development, but as part of your fundraising efforts. And we'd like to be recognized too. So if you enjoyed today, and you think this was great use of your time, if you want to like us on Facebook or social media or share our story, we would love to have you do that as well, because there's plenty more information that we can share.
Awesome.
That's it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.